Now, there are three main items we're going to need in order to create our parties and our characters for 4 Against Darkness. The first being the starter book. Second, at least one 6-sided die. And lastly, character sheets. There are countless resources online that will direct you to free downloadable character sheets, which, a quick search can reveal. These sheets here are ones that I've created. If you're interested, you like what you see, I'll leave a link in the description below. Feel free to go ahead and grab these. However, you can use something as simple as a single sheet of paper. For reference, the character sheet at the back of the 4 Against Darkness starter book will provide you with all the needed categories to get you started. So remember, you're going to want to create 4 characters for any adventures in 4 Against Darkness, hence the name. But to keep things moving today, we are going to only be creating 2, a Barbarian and a Cleric. Beginning on page 8, you'll find all of the characters in the starter book, along with any information needed to create said characters. We're going to turn to the Barbarian, as that'll be the first character that we're going to create. You'll see on the character sheets that there is a list of different information in building your character. Traits, armored allowed, weapons allowed, starting equipment, starting wealth, and life. So starting with the Barbarian traits. A Barbarian adds his level to his attack rolls. All your characters in the starter book are going to start at level 1. So let's go ahead and add that information to our character sheets to begin. We're going to do it with the Cleric as well. And according to this first sentence, a Barbarian adds his level to the attack rolls. So in our attack category, we're going to put a +1 and a +1. As you level up, obviously that number, that modifier, will continue to increase per level. To continue in traits, a Barbarian may not use magic items, scrolls, or potions. He may grudgingly accept the healing from a Cleric, since that's technically not magic but divine favor, and may use holy water. Once per game, a Barbarian may perform a rage attack. During a rage attack, roll the attack die 3 times and choose the best result. If the rage attack hits a boss monster, it inflicts 2 wounds. We'll get into wounds and how those are calculated a little bit later. Barbarians cannot read and therefore cannot use scrolls or gain any benefit from a book or other written material. So back to the rage attack. Barbarians get a single rage attack per adventure, allowing them to roll 3 dice and choosing the best results. We don't have a category for that on our character sheet, so let's go ahead and add that. We're just going to write down rage. We'll put a little box there that we can check off. Rage. Okay. Now, 2 major caveats in creating your character is what is allowed per character. For a Barbarian, the armor allowed are shields and light armor. For weapons, any weapons are allowed. Again, this is part of what makes a Barbarian a really good beginner character. It has a vast array of equipment that it can use and tends to be pretty beefy as well. Following the weapons and the armor allowed, there is a category called starting equipment. This refers to the equipment that your character will begin the adventure with without having to purchase any additional equipment. So the starting equipment for Barbarian is light armor, shields, and a hand weapon. You may trade in his shield and hand weapon for a 2-handed weapon or for a bow. If you turn to page 16, you can get a list of all the equipment. So let's start with the light armor. Light armor says here, light armor adds 1 to the wearer's defense roll. Certain attacks from monsters ignore this bonus. When the original wearer dies, you may reassign the light armor to another wearer of the same species. Meaning basically a dwarf's armor will not fit on a barbarian, a halfling's armor won't fit on an elf, so on and so forth. But so we're going to begin with light armor. That's going to add +1 to our defense. So in our gear and loot, I'm going to write down light armor, and then a note that gives us a +1. Up here in the armor category, I'm going to do +1. And then in our defense, we know that +1 goes towards defense. So we're going to write +1 in defense. I'm going to do all that same thing here. Armor is light at a +1, which gives us a +1 on defense. Next, we'll be choosing the weapon. We have a hand weapon. So this is a standard weapon like a sword, axe, or a mace. Choosing whether you want crushing or slashing. So there are 3 major caveats to attacks. That is crushing, slashing, and ranged. Obviously, each have their benefit depending on what monster you're fighting. But we're going to give the Barbarian an axe. So in weapons, we're going to write axe. This is a straight axe. It does not change the attack rolls whatsoever. Now, there was the caveat under the starting equipment that says you may trade in a shield and a hand weapon for a 2-handed weapon. Every weapon, every armor has both negatives and positives. Basically, whereas our light armor adds a +1, our heavy armor will add a +2 to our defense rolls. A hand weapon is considered flat. A light weapon is considered a -1 to attack, while a 2-handed weapon is considered a +1. So that's something you're going to have to consider when choosing your starting equipment and when choosing equipment that you may upgrade later on in the adventure. Finally, we are also granted a shield, and we're going to take that shield because our Barbarian is going to be up front of the party, is going to be taking the brunt of the attacks, given we can do a high defense, and also given that he's got quite a few life points to sacrifice in combat. So in gear and loot, we're going to write shield. Now if we refer to page, starting on page 16, shields. This gives a +1 to the user's defense roll. This bonus does not apply when the character is fleeing from a combat or when he is surprised by wandering monsters. Certain attacks from monsters will ignore the shield bonus. So that gives us an additional 1 to our defense rolls. So we're going to do shield +1. Shield +1 just as a note. And then we're going to move our defense from a +1 up to a +2. Okay, starting wealth. A barbarian starts with D6 gold pieces. So let's go ahead and roll. So the barbarian's going to start with 2 gold. So let's go ahead and fill that in. 2 gold is not great, but you will add additional gold as you progress through a dungeon. Finally, we need to put in the barbarian's life. A barbarian's life is 7 plus its level. That means that we are going to start with 8 life points. Again, making the barbarian a great beginner character and relatively strong. Okay, so that does it for our barbarian. Our barbarian has a +1 attack that comes from its level. We have 2 types of defensive armor. We have armor and we have a shield, each giving us a +1. So our defense rolls are going to roll at a +2. Again, we're level 1. And we have 8 life, and we'll be striking with an axe, a hand weapon, which is just a straight strike. So let's move on to our cleric.